Welcome back to F Wonderland, the podcast. Today, we are joined with the whole crew. So, me, Kelly Hennigan, Tim Heller, and Jake Rura Norris. Welcome.
I wore this shirt just for y'all.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I wasn't
beautiful.
gonna wear any McLaren merch, and then
and then the weekend.
Jake, you just keep lying to yourself. This isn't healthy.
I said what I said. At least I'm consistent.
I said what I said,
and I do it again.
Well, welcome back. This is episode 5. Hopefully you've been able to catch up with us in the first 4 episodes and you are following us on all the socials. We've got F1_Durland on Instagram. We are on all of your podcast places where you would listen. Like, subscribe, comment, roast us, whatever, we're here for it all.
But do it with good heart, right?
Oh, well, yeah.
Just be nice about the roasting. That's my Midwesternism. Just ignore me. I'll be over here.
I mean, feedback's a gift, so just keep it coming. We've gotten some good feedback so far, so thanks for those who've reached out and listened. Hello.
Absolutely.
We've got a good episode coming up today. Obviously, we actually had a race, so we get to talk about actual racing today. We'll pick up from what happened last time. We'll talk about a race weekend, what it actually looks like, and then we'll go through the race. And I think we'll probably be thirsty by the end. And then we'll talk about next time.
I love it. We have a lot to unpack today. And
This is true.
One second.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy.
I just thought it was... I thought it was fitting.
Humble brag. Look at that flex.
I thought it was fitting.
You didn't say we were bringing our Louis Vuitton merch.
Yeah,
Louis Vuitton Australia.
Oh
my gosh.
I'm just saying, we can get into this later. I just wanted to shout out the main sponsor of the race, Louis Vuitton, not the main sponsor of our podcast, but if you would like to sponsor us, we would love to show your products, especially if you're, Louis Vuitton.
I think we could do some good for Louis
Would
Vuitton.
go everywhere in that.
Yeah.
Shall we pick up from last time?
We shall.
I think we should.
Okay.
F-175?
Yeah, that happened. Drive to Survive on Netflix dropped. Guys, did you watch it? What do you think?
I'm going to just be fully transparent. Gaga's album came out the same day, and this already consumes a lot of my life, and I'm very grateful for it too, but Gaga hadn't released an album in 5 years, so I have not caught up on it. I will have more to speak on next week.
Yes,
okay,
I
great.
have watched not all of it yet, but I've consumed, I think, through episode 5. And it just feels good to be back. Maybe not episode 5. I haven't seen where they say goodbye to Danny in one of the episodes, unless that happened last year, and I'm just not with it. But no, it would happen this season, right?
No, it happened this season, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, so I haven't gotten there yet. But I love it. Feels like coming home.
Right?
Yeah.
It almost feels like a totally different experience of the season, which is also kind of fun. You get to go back and you're like, oh, the storytelling. I watched the Charles episode where he won Monaco. I was like, am I crying right now? Is it the middle of the day? Am I crying?
That story is just so heartwarming. If you're new to F1, a really brief rundown. Charles Leclerc won the Monaco Grand Prix, which is a crown jewel in all of racing, not just Formula One. He's from Monaco. His father died just shortly before he joined F1, and he promised his dad that he would become an F1 driver. And so before he died, he said that he had a contract before he actually did. His father passed away, and then he got signed, and he won basically his home race, which is one of it, if not the biggest race of F1. So if you're new to F1 and you're still looking for a driver or a team, he's a good one to follow. I'm not going to influence anyone on their decisions, but
and it's strictly for that reason only for sentimental, not any physical reasons, not anything else influencing people's eyeballs.
No, we'll get to his radio later.
I will say there's one part in that episode where I mean, Horner's kind of the villain. We already know this. They show him throughout. And he's like, am I the villain? Is it me? And like, yes, he's edited to be a little bit of a villain. So he's like talking shit about the curse with Charles and Monaco and all the things that have gone wrong, obviously boiling up to this point. And Charles is in his apartment playing classical piano. And like, imagine talking shit about me and I'm at
Trying
home
to punch up
playing
like
my
that.
piano.
Yeah. I mean, Christian,
Also,
so good.
Christian has to punch up to everybody he tries to punch, but punching up
That's
like
a short
that
joke.
it is a short joke. Thank you for explaining it.
Yeah. But also
Dad.
he like low key, I think Kelly, maybe you or either one of you, it wasn't me, posted in our group chat, was like just silently releasing an EP on Spotify of him playing piano.
Right?
Like wild.
Right. Yeah.
So
talented.
that's something else that I think is great about being a new fan or coming into the sport, is learning about these drivers outside of the actual race, even outside of Drive to Survive, because we all know that is highly produced, as entertaining as it is. Seeing their like real life a little bit in those aspects is also really great.
I feel like DTS also really opened the door for that, because I mean, I was not participating in watching the sport before Drive to Survive, but feels like with social media and more shows like this, like Hard Knocks for the NFL, I think Full Swing for golf, and there's a tennis one as well, but it just gives you more access to these athletes. And so it's not like they're these like ethereal beings anymore. It really humanizes them. And I think it opens up a lot more opportunity for the athletes themselves to show more of themselves and show more sides, and which then opens the doors for more business, which is great. But yeah,
Totally.
Especially when they're classical pianists.
Yeah, absolutely.
Classic.
Classic.
Okay, so Drive to Survive. I'm interested in your takes if y'all watch a little bit more or a little bit more.
A little bit more.
A little bit more.
You know,
I'll catch up.
whatever.
I'll catch up. Gaga's album's out. Traders is done. We can
finally focus.
We can finally focus on things.
It was a good timing for the actual season to start, because it's like I can watch all of the things this weekend. Speaking of all of the new things, there's a new intro. So we love the intro. It's for before the races. You see all of the drivers, their names. They do a little quirky movement sometimes. But we've got a new one with all new 20 drivers.
I have a question about that. So I know you both watch Sky. So if you haven't watched, let's back it up a little bit. If you haven't watched F1, you have two primary options: F1 TV, which is through F1 branding. It's an app, so you can watch and stream on any device. And then ESPN Plus broadcasts Sky News, which is like the BBC, right?
Yeah,
I think so.
So it's their broadcast. So there's different commentators. They're both broadcasting, but ESPN is what mirrors Sky. So I don't watch that version, which we'll go into some of our takes on that later. I watch the F1 version because I don't have cable and it's more convenient for me. But my question is the intro the same?
I think so.
Is it?
Yeah. I also just fact checked us. Sky News is not BBC. Sky News came before BBC.
Oh, wow.
Remains without competition. Or wait, not before BBC. It's separate entity. Almost a fact check.
Anyway, they're British, right?
Yes.
Well, so my hot take on the intro, I don't like it as much as last year's.
I don't either. I feel like it's way more computer generated. They spend like half a second on each driver. I think the two drivers that actually stick out, Carlos doing whatever zhuzh to his hair thing and then looking wistfully off into the distance. Yeah, L'Oreal, partner. And George, but he doesn't pull the T-pose off nearly as brilliantly this time because there's no walls. He's just walking out like this.
I'll tell you,
it all just looks very computer generated. It almost is like they put it in ChatGPT and they were like, all right, AI, you make an intro.
I don't like the font. It's like this cursive under like lowercase. It's very Etsy, which no offense to Etsy. I love Etsy, but for Etsy. I don't want my Formula One
I
names
want
being.
bold, fast letters.
It is a
Yeah.
little crafty.
It just
It's
seems
a little
very.
crafty for
A little
how
crafty, like the house
technical and
car.
It seems a
how
little
much how much
chooky.
money, technical.
Yeah.
It's like tested
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Oh, corn.
Anyway.
Corn. Yeah, the T-pose is back. I'm really not sure why.
I don't know if it really ever left, but I think George is trying to like claim it as a thing. But it's just like with most of what George has been doing this season in the public eye, it's all felt very put on and very cringy. Like even at the end of the race this weekend with like George and Kimmy on. I think did one of y'all send that in the group chat?
Yeah.
Where it's George and Kimmy on stage, and it's like when Big Brother's trying to include you, and
Yeah.
Kimmy's just
We'll
and George
put it.
is
Well,
taking it.
yeah, I have it. Yeah. It's
Jules
just,
will throw it up there.
Yeah.
someone said George is always the one picking up the pieces, and I thought that was the perfect description of him because he's like never like the top. Even when he is, he like gets disqualified or something bad happens, like poor George, or he like wrecks the car, like, but he's always good enough, like he's always in the like right below people that are really, really good. Not to say he's not really, really good, but like someone saying him picking up the pieces is just really kind of, I think,
It's perfect. And and if I can give a spoiler into the race and we'll jump back, but like I clocked last night. We all watched live last night. Then I went to bed and woke up and watched the rest of it where I left off this morning.
I don't know how you did that.
Something
by
I
the way.
noticed was I know. I left
The
right
moment
after
you
Alonso
left,
went
I was
flying
like-
into the wall, and then I was like, fuck, this is going to be another like 30-minute safety car, and I am an old man and need to go to bed. But what I noticed this morning and last night, they never really say George's name or comment on his driving at all through the race, even through the end. He's like he always is so excited at the end and calling off 1, 2, and then he goes, and there's George Russell is coming in, and Kimi Antonelli in 4th place. What? And it's like he just like completely skated over it, and it was kind of nice.
I'm really about to outgame myself right now, but like, you know what George reminds me of? He reminds me of those queens on RuPaul's Drag Race that are consistently safe. They never win,
safe.
and they never are in the bottom.
Curse.
So like, they're like just
Middle of
and
the
they make
pack.
it like all the way to the end, but they don't win anything, and they don't really lose anything. So they're just there.
But they have a complex of like, I'm just safe.
Yeah.
And I think that comes up for George on the radio,
George is an untucked, and
I mean, that's
I think-
so real.
I think we should move on to the actual race and like how it's structured now, since
Let's
we're already
do it.
talking about it, if that's cool with
Yeah,
y'all.
take us through the weekend, Jake.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
the weekend.
yeah,
Tell
so
us
we
how it
kind of
worked.
talked about it, I think episode 2, maybe 1. So if you haven't listened yet, go back to that. We have a little bit of, foundational terminology for you, but it was a regular full weekend. We had press day on Thursday. Friday was free practice. Saturday was so there's 3 free practices, which 3 times, 3 sessions that the drivers get to practice, go around the track, get lap times, get data.
In practice, they
practice.
Oh.
But especially at the beginning of the season, they're really looking at data coming in still. They're still figuring out cars. I mean, this is throughout the entire season, but especially this race. First 2 practice sessions happened on Friday. Third happened on Saturday, and then qualifying happened on Saturday. So the way qualifying works is there's 3 sessions. And I have it pulled up here. The top 15 in Q1 advanced to Q2, and then the top 10 in Q2 advanced to Q3. So the bottom 5 in qualifying, that's their place on the grid. And then Q2, the bottom 5 in that group, that's their place in the grid. And then the top 10 shoot out for the top 10 spots. So when you hear the grid placement, P1, P2, that's position 1, position 2, all the way down. That's what they are qualifying for. So we had Lando Norris with the fastest time in Q1. We had Lando Norris with the fastest time in Q2, and Lando Norris with the fastest time in Q3, which I will say, if you look at P1, practice 1 through 3, we had Lando P1, Charles P1, and then Oscar P1. So when you're looking at, okay, who do you think is going to have the best car, or who is the best driver this weekend? You really kind of don't know until qualifying. And I think
Totally.
McLaren was sandbagging a little bit in practice because they know they have a fast car.
And in prep.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
of course.
I think there were a couple of teams that were sandbagging. It was McLaren, Ferrari a little bit in terms of their times that showed up, and VCarb. VCarb was swift and agile this race. I mean,
fast.
For Isack. We'll get into that.
I do think what makes qualifying so exciting is each Q1, like Q1 qualifying, you have to set a fast lap. And then Q2, everything disappears. And then you have to set a fast lap again. So just because you do it one time doesn't mean it's over. So there's so much drama inside of like the tires and a fresh set of softs, mediums. I'm not going to pretend I know all that, but like there's a lot of drama in being able to continue to set a top time that might not waste a tire, but also will get you safely through to the next qualifying session. And absolutely, people were talking about like in practice sessions, practicing honestly, because there's rookies that have not practiced with different fuel levels, which again, I don't know all that, but there's different reasons or setups that they're going out to practice on, not necessarily like free practice one isn't maybe when they want to set a fast lap to show the world what their car is. So it's interesting. And McLaren knows what they have.
And
they've known.
Yeah.
I think James Voles also knows what he has. That was something really exciting to see in practice and all throughout the race was Williams. I forgot to mention them for sandbagging, but like, I think they did what we thought they did, which is take all of that money that they could have used for PR and social media, and they just put it inside the car.
And Alex, their PR and media is better now.
It's better now. It is better. And I think Carlos and Alex make a really charming pair because they're both kind of like nice guys and ridiculously talented drivers. And like, thank God Carlos showed up at Williams and Voles had the foresight to be like, look, Albon is a world-class driver. He just needs a good car. Carlos is a world-class driver. He just needs a little respect on his name and like a good car that won't catch on fire spontaneously halfway through a race.
I think what I'm seeing with Williams, and we kind of talked about this earlier when we were talking about when we introduced Hydration Station with that lovely picture of Lewis Hamilton and the difference between their PR. Williams seems unified. They seem like a team effort, and Ferrari, it's not that they don't, but I don't get that vibe from them. I don't see Leclerc and Hamilton speaking with each other, speaking with the team speaking to them the way that Williams is speaking to Albon and Sainz.
That's something I want to pay attention to, and I'd encourage all of our watchers and listeners to pay attention to is like, as the season goes on, let's see who is actually marketing as a team and who is focusing more on their personal brand. Because I feel like Russell is like a solo ride, lone wolf, we'll call him at Mercedes, but he's trying to like pump up Kimi, but he's like, oh, it's my turn for the spotlight. But then Alpine is also, it's always, or last year it was more of like Pierre and Esteban together. Haas, I don't even know if I follow them.
Well, I wanted to jump back before we moved on real quick to Kelly's point about how your practice and your qualifying times get deleted to the next round. Ollie Behrman, who is a rookie for Haas, poor guy had a really rough weekend. I mean, a lot of the rookies did, but he didn't even qualify. He was out because he had 2 crashes in the free practice, which don't count. I mean, there's bragging rights with time and people are getting data, but like that doesn't count for anything. He crashed in 2 sessions in practice and the car wasn't at the level it needed to be to qualify. So he missed out on Q1. So he didn't even get to qualify for a time. And I think that's another really important point when it comes to qualifying. That's why it's so exciting, like you said, Kelly, is because one move could take you out for the entire race.
So one other driver didn't have a qualifying.
Does his name start with an L?
Yeah. We had 2 drivers that had to start in the pit lane for not having a qualifying time.
One's been there before.
Liam did get a qualifying time in Q1.
Did he? Was he
Yeah.
back
He started
out there?
from the pits this race.
Yeah, but his car wasn't ready
Because
for.
his car.
Yeah.
All I saw was a shot of his car in the garage, and they were like undoing the whole thing, and I was like, "Oh, that thing's not gonna be ready."
Yeah.
It's just too busy playing guitar.
Oh Lord. I think we should talk about the race, what actually happened. I've been
Let's get into
nervous about this, as nervous as I was watching it. But Kelly, do you want to kind of set the scene for us?
Australia GP. So the weekend looked one way, and then Sunday happened. Obviously, for us, it was Saturday night at like 11 p.m. So we're all like trying to stay awake as much as we can. Hashtag old people problems. But Friday, Saturday, sunny, hot, the opposite of what it was in testing, which was like cold, I guess. And then Sunday, rain, like wet. So different than what they've been
Crazy
practicing the whole
windy.
time. Windy, crosswinds. You also have to consider, like, part of the broadcast are like, rain anticipated in specific turns on the track. That one turn on the end of the track is a whole different world than the other side of the track, because these tracks are so long. So you can even see when they're following the lap, like one side looks kind of sunny, and then they get to like turn 11, 12, and it's rain. So wet enters the chat as the main character for Sunday's race. When Jake, you and I were talking about it, or we were all talking about it in the chat, we were like, okay, the gravel this weekend is going to be the main character. That was a lie. It was the rain on Sunday.
And the white lines on the track were the main character.
The white lines on a temporary track, which I don't know that I understood what a temporary track meant, but
I can jump in real quick. So Albert Park is the circuit in Melbourne, Melbourne, where I have a few Aussie friends that would kill me for saying Melbourne. Melbourne, Ocorn. So the first Grand Prix at that circuit was in 1996. It's 58 laps for this Grand Prix. The length of the circuit is 5.278 kilometers, which is over 3 miles, just over 3 miles. And the fastest lap record was 1:19.813, which was, I believe, broken. Well, I don't know if that was the race, because the fastest lap was Norris with 1:15, 1:22. So so the fastest lap record in a race was Leclerc in 2024, so last year, with 1:19.813. But to your point, Kelly, it's a big track like that. They're doing 58 laps over 3 miles. Like that's a lot. And so when there are different pockets of weather, or pockets of, even if it's a fine day, the conditions are fine, you have different turns that have different requirements for the drivers. And then we have gravel on certain turns for basically runoff area that is supposed to slow the car down from like hitting a wall at super high speeds. Well, sometimes those cars will oversteer or understeer and cross that line and hit the gravel. And it will, just like if you hit a curb when you're driving down the road, your car is going to jerk a little bit, and it's going to not only be jarring for the driver, but it's going to be jarring for the watcher, and it's going to limit your time. It's going to take time away from anything, qualifying, practice, the race. To your point, it's a street circuit, so they build it on that. It's not like a racetrack that you go to and it's there all year. It's built for this, and then it's taken down and then put
like
back
Las
up.
Vegas,
so it's wet. We have paint on the track because it's a real life road that people drive on. There's oil because it's a real life
they had F3 and F2 there, so the oil mixed with the rubber on everything too. Like Martin Brundle on the grid walk was just like, everything is greasy, this is going to be really dangerous.
Yes, I mean, let's talk about the drama even before, like
drama on multiple levels, honestly, between the two different. If we can, let's touch on broadcast. opinions on safety, because I know we have some
Mhm.
strong
Yep.
ones. Some excellent radio chatter between racers and their engineers, and a little bit of what we learned. So,
Yeah.
Kelly, you and Jake were the most opinionated in the group chat, which I loved, just kind of like keeping track of what was happening on both broadcasts while watching myself on Sky. Take us through the main character of the Sky broadcast, Kelly, that we
Oh,
got to
Lord.
see
Oh
more than we wanted to.
my gosh. Well, I turned it on, obviously the pre-race, and we're like doing all the analyzing. We see Martin about to do the grid walk, and our friend Zach Brown. I mean, this man should
Oh,
work for Sky Sports, because I am sorry to this man. He just shows up it's like they have a timer and they're like, we haven't seen Zach in like 30 minutes. I wonder what he's thinking now. Let's cut to Zach.
Yeah, even
tell
mid-race.
us
I mean,
about,
it was a lot.
I mean, the whole time.
And he never
Yes.
really had much to say. It was all very smug and like, oh, sorry, I was just busy making decisions over here like a CEO.
Which for the fact of to fact check him, he was not making decisions. He's doing the same thing he's done for a couple of years now, is not made decisions in a timely manner.
Just standing there in the panic.
And then he did mention papaya rules a lot, but he said,
well, he mentioned in both broadcasts that I saw, at least from my end, that they weren't going to do papaya rules yet because it's too early in the season. Like, this is not the focus of the team. Like, we're not even worried
'em
about the
race.
two drivers. Let them race. Like, no,
right.
And
well,
then-
the papaya rules he shared were respect your teammate, give space, race hard.
yeah.
I'm like,
Don't
well,
wreck
that
the
is
car.
exactly
Yeah.
why you all are where you are. Because those are not directive at all.
But then fast forward in the race when Oscar was very close
Faster.
to overtaking Lando and then was told to maintain the position
Yeah.
by the team.
Only
That's
until
team
the
orders.
slicks came on, because it took. Can we back up really quick too? Like, we'll
Yes,
finish
sorry.
the McLaren thing,
We
because I
got-
do
Yeah.
want to
I
talk about the
know,
beginning of the
we got-
race was crazy.
I know.
So
But
much.
they had them hold that team orders and hold off on Lando until the slicks came on. So it was real back at the beginning of the race. It was raining hard. Zach
Yep.
Brown was petitioning hard for a rolling start. Or whatever it's
Why?
called.
Tim, tell us why he was petitioning for a rolling start.
Mhm.
Jake, you earmuffs right now. Why did Zach want a rolling start?
I don't know if I know why he wanted this, but I mean, I assume it's because he didn't want Max coming off the line and taking Lando out in the first corner.
Turn one.
Turn
It's
one, it's
the
always
Lando
there.
turn one curve.
No, I agree completely. And so backing up still to the start of the race, the conditions are rainy, like rain. It's not like spitting
Sure.
rain. It's raining. The
Rain,
track is wet.
windy,
It's hard.
awful.
I was in the group chat saying, like, I just really am so anxious about these races. I don't like it. It makes me nervous. Of course, we like to see action, but we don't want anyone getting hurt. And they're going
Sure.
200 miles an hour. Like, they're even
And
if
we
you
have
slam into
6 rookies
yeah,
who haven't
so
done this before.
it's just one of those things that, like, I get very nervous about. And I said something like, IndyCar does not race in the rain, which I fact checked myself, and that's incorrect. They actually do race in the rain, but they do not race in the rain on ovals, which, from my knowledge, Indy 500, that's where I'm from. They also don't have lights at the Indy 500 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So, like, they don't delay. Like, if it gets delayed, like, they shorten the race. Like, that's it. So they do run in the rain on road tracks and like street circuits like F1, and F1 does not do ovals. So that's where that, like, kind of misunderstanding for myself came from. But still, it's so dangerous. And
Yeah.
IndyCar does do a rolling start, or they do a moving start. I shouldn't say rolling. They're going very fast. Every race. F1 is from the lights. So when you're starting from 0 miles per hour with a wet track, think about
with a rear-wheel drive rocket ship.
yeah, with what, 6
Going
rookies
into a turn.
Yeah,
A
with
hard
less than,
right.
like 200 yards off the line. It's or less than that, probably there. But so in the formation lap alone, so they delayed the start once because of the rain. Then they
Mhm.
put all the tents away. Then they came back out and they did a formation lap. In that formation lap, I don't remember which turn it was, like 6 or 7 maybe. Isack Hadjar at V-carb broke all
Oh.
of our hearts because he accelerated a little too much on one of those said like white lines on the street that Martin had said was going to be one of the biggest problems of this in the
Yeah.
grid walk. And he spun out, wrecked the rear wing. He was out. He was not only out, but devastated and crying. And then we got to see him walking off back to the garage, change out of his kit. And Lewis's dad shows up, gives him a hug, gives him a good pep talk for about a minute and a half, and then sends him on his way. That was incredible.
Well, he met him before he even got out of his suit, like because he
Oh
was
no,
like,
yeah, he like walked him
visor-
back
He
to
was
the
walking back to
carb
the garage.
down.
Yeah,
It was
Mhm.
heartbreaking. We reposted it on our socials too. If you haven't seen it, you
Yeah.
can look at it there. Completely heartbreaking. And then not 5 minutes later, do we have our other favorite,
yeah.
Daddy Signs, going to the wall.
It was, yeah. I mean, it was Hadjar
Isack,
and then Doohan,
and
he
yep,
they aborted that start. So that an aborted start is they actually put all the cars back on the grid. They can put the tire covers back on. The teams and engineers can come out and talk to the driver again. And then they start and they do a formation lap again. That next formation lap, Doohan does the same thing. The race, they were able to clear that off. Then it was Sainz. So that's
Then-
3.
and then Alonso,
And Alonso. And then
Bortoleto,
Yep.
and then
we also had,
our lovely Liam Lawson.
just think about playing the guitar too much.
You went to bed. I don't know how you went to bed, but then
I don't know how you went
with
to bed.
with respect, Kelly,
Respectfully.
I moved the chat to just Kelly and I because I didn't want your phone to be blown
Yeah, I was
up.
pissed. I didn't see anything when I woke up. I was like,
Well, I didn't.
"Oh, that's
You
sweet.
said
We
you were
all
going
went
to bed
together."
I was like, no. You left at the most. You left when the rain became the main character.
I
The
left at
rain
lap
won
38,
the
I think.
Oscar.
It
Something
also
about-
wrecked Oscar.
Well, I said something about the rain started, so Lando was leading, Oscar was behind, or it was Max behind, then Oscar, then Max had a little moment in the gravel, and Oscar overtook him. So it was
Yep.
back 1-2. Then they were talking about the rain coming in, and not light rain, hard rain. And if you listen to our previous episodes, we talked about inters. They were all on inters, so they were on their rain tires that have the tread on them. You don't want to be on those. You want to be on the slicks because they're faster. Well, they were on the slicks because it had stopped raining. Well, it's going to rain again, and we have 10 laps left. What do you do? Because if Lando pits, if Oscar pits, and Max doesn't, then Max is going to be first, and he's going to win the race if it doesn't rain. But if it does rain, then you're screwed because you're on slicks and you're going to be sliding all over the place, which I've said some stuff on this podcast about Max Verstappen. He drove incredibly yesterday.
He did, even on the slicks to get into the pit. Now, people who did not make the right move, if I can throw this team in there, is Ferrari. And can we talk about Ferrari just during this race really quick in all aspects? Because a little heartbreaking because Lewis almost dropped out of the points. Charles was, honestly, they talked about Charles as much as they talked about George this race. There was really no Charles chatter except for the team radios. Now, I will let y'all handle the team radios because I've seen what you've prepared for the show today, and I love it. What I do want to say is I found it really interesting to hear the team radio and how volatile it was, which y'all will talk about, but especially with Lewis. And in that move where they had like 9-10 laps left, and they should have gone in, and they didn't. I think it was to change out of slicks into inters again. And they wasted that. And to hear Lewis, like sad Lewis again on the radio, like sad like he was last year at Mercedes, just saying like, guys, we missed a massive opportunity.
We had so many sad boys. It was sad boy weekend.
It was,
it was sad boy weekend. Like tears sad, not just like, oh, I'm pissed I lost the race. No, like crying.
Yeah.
Oh no, like, yes. Opportunities missed, like things that we thought we learned last year, we didn't actually, and we're doing the same same things this year. Ferrari is one of those things. Like there's all those memes around like Ferrari won't break one of your hearts, it'll break both. Like they're just making
Breaks your
decisions that
budget
break
and bad for your budget and your health.
all of it. They had a 1-2 podium. They had a sliver of time. And obviously I'm not making decisions. I'm not there. I don't know. But like you do have to make decisions really quickly. That decision making favors the decisive in Formula One. And I mean, Ferrari hesitated. But do you know who doesn't like ever? And then randomly, we weren't even talking about Mercedes the whole time, but they were making the right decisions the whole race.
Yeah.
And somehow got, what was it, third, fourth?
Yeah, and I do
3-4.
I do think there was some luck in that. I'm not going to discredit
That's
Mark,
okay.
but I do think there was some luck with the rain with that. I mean, Max having the airs that he had is huge for a race. Lando and Oscar both going off track. Oscar sliding out into the grass, losing almost bringing out a safety car. Lando won. Of course, I'm so glad about that. But if I could pick a driver, it was Oscar Piastri because he
100%
got that car back out on the track and then got points. Like
I think
he
the
was
three favorite
devastated,
drivers from this weekend were Oscar, Kimi, and Yuki. Kimi, he looks like straight out of Luca from Pixar. And but then like seeing his like first takeover, I could almost see him like smiling in his helmet like, oh, I did it.
Yeah.
And then but then the way he like continued to overtake and take advantage, and he was driving, I think he drove more aggressively and more impressively than George did. Again, George
Agreed.
Didn't do much. He didn't really have to do much. He was kind of like in his little cushioned area, but watching a rookie and the babiest of the baby rookies on the grid drive like that was crazy. Yuki drove impeccably. He drove that car into the ground. It was great. Okay, Jake, I really want to hear your Ferrari radio segment.
I'm a little thirsty.
Are we thirsty?
Is anyone else thirsty?
I am. My drink's empty.
I think it's time for hydration station.
Okay,
so
let's do it.
we're gonna start with the team radio of Mr. Leclerc, who drives for Ferrari that we were just talking about.
Hilarious.
Again, we weren't really hearing a lot of any. We were not hearing a lot about him. We were hearing about Hamilton as we have been since the dawn of time. Not a read, just the fact that he's at Ferrari and this is a comeback and whatever. Look, we'll put this on the screen. Look, there it goes. Is there a leakage? The engineer says, a leakage of what? He says, I have a seat full of water, like full of water. The engineer says, must be water. Leclerc says, let's add that to the words of wisdom. And that's what
I don't know what these poor Ferrari engineers were on, but they sounded nervous talking to both Charles and Lewis. Yeah. Can you take us to the next radio call, Jake?
The next radio call that I remember was Oscar saying, well, I'm faster. The shade.
Yes, that was. I love Oscar because he's that sleeper build. He looks like he's maybe like a little wafy and like not really paying attention, but then he gets in that car and immediately he's like 6'8", 300. He's the mountain from Game of Thrones. Yeah. But they also, the Ferrari radio with Lewis was also equally as short, not only with the pit decisions, but they were just like, okay, you have this and this and this. And he's just like, yes, please let me be. Let it be. Let me do my job.
Let me do my job.
They were like, what? Copy, Lewis? Copy?
They're like, understood. K1 is available. I'm like,
yes.
He's
like, no shit, Sherlock.
Right.
I don't even know what K1 is. I'm like, yeah, let the man drive.
I was like, he knows. Shut up.
You know who else's radio stuck out to me? I don't know if you went to bed yet, Tim, but this is the top of my hydration station this week. And it is Laura Mueller.
Yeah.
We got to hear
live
on air Ocon engineer, first female engineer in F1, and we got to hear her live, and that was a highlight for me. Also, she's really hot too, so
I mean, not saying, but just saying, the
Yeah.
little Ocon radio graphic popped up and I was like, everyone shut up. And
It's Laura.
mind you, I'm by myself in a room watching at like midnight, but I'm like, everyone shut up. She's going to be on here. I need to hear what she says. And she goes, understood. And I was like,
And Kelly
Am
and
I
I both are
crying?
just like texting each other. I was like, I need to take my beta blockers for this because I forgot how heart rate inducing this is on all aspects of, my emotions.
yes.
But yeah,
Yes.
those were my top hydration picks. I have a few more memes we can post on social media for you guys to look at that I thought was funny. I loved the Yuki standing behind George in the photo. I loved all of the memes about Lawson like coming to join the former RB seat 2, place drivers.
All of the memes around Yuki looking at like what he like just lurking around the corner at Liam.
The best meme I saw all week was Kendrick doing the "Hey Drake," and it's Yuki looking out Liam over corner. Like,
yes.
Hey Drake.
Yes.
Did y'all see I don't know if this was pre or post. I think it was pre-race on one of like the 7 times they talked to Zach. But at one point they asked him like, hey, so what do you think about like the Red Bull lineup? And he's like, yeah, well, like Christian has, he's known for making some pretty interesting decisions in the past before. And like shat on Liam hard. And I was like, oh, damn, you're just like kicking a 20-year-old kid right in the nuts. That's kind of, I know because it's Liam, I'm kind of here for it.
I think that's also more a dig to Horner though.
Yeah,
like I do think Zach and Horner are just like, oh, no love lost there.
Yeah,
but
for sure. Yeah. But I just didn't expect it to be so directly about Liam.
Sure. Well, he's the weakest link. So
yeah. Jake, was there anything else on your hydration station? I feel like we need to talk about one of Lando's new friends.
They set me up for this. This was not even on my to-do list, but I will gladly talk about it.
I think Kelly dropped it in one of our chats.
She did, and I said, "Well, I guess I'm going to have to talk about this." Lando has
like you're upset, like you don't want to.
Yeah.
Lando,
tell us how I set you up.
Is it because it's love, or is it because it's love too close to Lando?
Kelly sets me up for success all the time, and this is a true point to that. Lando got a new bodyguard, and he is giving he's giving
that body. That body is a temple, and he is guarding it.
Honestly, if Lando and him were in the room together, we would all be in the room together. But like, if I had to choose between the two of them, it would probably go to his bodyguard. Like, that man, I'm sorry to that man, but I do know who you are, and I will hunt you down and I will find you.
He's like, I will shoot my shot. Yeah.
Yeah. But the other one was there's this meme we'll put on the screen of Oscar's new trainer with Lando's bodyguard, and they're both like Oscar's trainer has like cakes and like wearing very tight pants and just looks very fit, and then behind him is Lando's bodyguard with like a perfect fade and can tell very built as well.
I love that. I think you're like sober. You're like kind of worked up. You can't even like talk about it, which is just the cutest thing ever. I'd love to hear either something that you learned or taking away from the race weekend, or something that wasn't on your bingo card from the race weekend. I can start.
Yeah, go for it.
Not on my bingo card this weekend. The race was wet, but like my cheeks were wet. The amount of like crying, which I'm not necessarily a crier, but like Hadjar into the wall, stop.
Netflix
Lewis's dad, stop.
It was
this weekend. They had their whole season in one race.
Kelly, it was sweat, kiki, sweat, baby, sweat, baby.
Yes, on my cheeks, it was sweat.
Yeah.
So. Not on my bingo card. What about y'all?
Not on my bingo card was Alex Albon P4. I was not ready for that. I love it. And I'm glad was he P5?
He finished 5. Kimmy finished 4th.
Yeah, but then Kimmy
And
had a
then
time
there was
penalty.
yes, but I think it reversed.
Did
I
it?
think Kimmy,
It did.
yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay.
Benefit
well, I
of
need to
falling
update
asleep
that.
and waking up and getting all the current
See,
news.
I was in bed at that time when they reversed it, but still, P5 points, like that's crazy, and I was not expecting after a great practice and qualifying session for Carlos for him to be gone so soon. Something I'm learning is we're all playing F1 fantasy, and I actually did pretty well
Tim
this week, which
sucks.
I don't know how I did pretty well because I
You
had both
buried us.
science.
So annoying.
Can you give us a
Science
quick
and-
reading of our scores really quick, Jake? Do you have the app pulled up? Or actually, you know what? I have
can
it.
pull it
I
up.
have it.
DRS Iana Grande,
DRS
Yep.
Yana Grande.
107 points.
Yeah, with
Yeah.
Hadjar and Science in the team.
Yeah.
Wild. That was not on my
And
bingo
I
then
think
your
the
card.
other
points are
team
fake,
name,
but
Hadjar, you
Oh.
doing, is my favorite. And
Yeah.
Kel, you got, where did it go?
we don't need to. I mean, I got 7 whole points.
My league. Where's
I
my
love
league?
it. 7 is a lucky number.
I got -6,
Tim.
which I don't know how that works.
I don't know
either.
how you get negative points, but
Figured it out.
Same.
My team name
But-
is Tim Tried. And that's probably why. They know
I will say
couldn't come
I
up
will
with
say
anything
that
clever.
like what I'm learning from that is like when you're managing a team, very fantasy like, you still have a budget cap, and that's so new. And so that's what I'm still learning is like, okay, so next week, what do I want to do? Do I want to have a great driver? Or do I want to have points from a constructor's, standpoint? Because you can't have really both. I mean, you can, but then you have a bunch of rookies on your team, which they could also surprise you, like Kimmy. Like
Yeah.
it's that's something I'm still learning.
Okay, great.
Not on my
Tim.
bingo card for yesterday's race was really terrible graphics. And in the Sky
Yeah.
ESPN broadcast, oh my God, they would show, if you didn't watch this, and if you haven't watched F1 ever before, usually on the left side of the screen for the ESPN broadcast, they have all the drivers in their order, and then they switch between interval, leader, and tires, and maybe one other stat. This time,
Right.
they went interval, leader, nothing for like 25 minutes. So you don't know what the gaps are. And also they usually like are updating the gaps kind of live almost. And this time
Yeah.
it was like a 10-second delay sometimes. Sometimes it was live, but you just never, I don't know if it's my ADHD brain and I'm just like, I need to know all of the stats right now.
The fact that I
But
had to
it
like
just-
screenshot like my iPad and send it to the group chat, like here's the
So
times.
we were
is
so pissed.
wild.
It was
Great. It was like,
2025.
what's the gap? It was
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
15 seconds.
Yeah.
The last time they showed it, it was like in DRS zone. I was like,
Right.
no.
honestly, one thing I learned is that with DRS, I'll say this is 2 parts: safety car and DRS. Safety car / flags for the yellow flag. For how many incidents happened during this race? There were so many yellow flags, and this came up in our group chat as well and pertains to Leclerc and his legacy. But for how many crashes there were and how many times they had to crane the car off the track, I was really surprised that they did not have any red flags to full stop, get the cars off the track for safety, especially because it was
Yeah.
so wet. And while they had that dry path along the lines, the second you get out of there, especially on slicks, you're going to slide all over the place and can get really bad. And if you don't know, it was Jules Bianchi, right? Bianchi
Yes.
is
Yeah. Bianchi.
is Charles' uncle, and died because he was in a crash and then slipped. Somebody else hit him while he was stationary.
Yeah, it was
right?
raining. It was very similar raining conditions. Someone
And so that
crashed.
was-
The crane was coming off, and they were in like a yellow, I believe, maybe a
Yeah.
safety car, but slid off and hit the tractor and
And
passed
so
away.
under the
Yeah.
yellow flag, for again people who don't watch, which we hope is a lot of you, because that should be why you were brought to the show. They have a speed that they have to stay under. They have to stay in formation. They have to stay within a certain distance. I think it's within 10 car lengths of the car in front of
Yep.
them. And they cannot go over that speed or they get penalized. This was really freaky. There were a lot of crashes. Didn't like it. And all of the commentators were on there too. Also not on my bingo card was just like how awful the FIA handled the first Grand Prix of the season. But I'm not mad about it because hopefully Susie Wolf gets voted in.
I said,
Oh
maybe,
my gosh. Would love.
I was like, I think they should throw some mirrors on the track to dry it up because, you know, that's what the FIA really loves to do.
Just leaving trash out on the track.
Yeah, let's just throw some debris on the thing. Maybe that'll clear up the wetness, the sweat wet.
Okay, so I'd love
ra-
for you to bring us home with the most Will Buxton thought of the weekend that you have.
Yeah, man, I wish I could just change the lights to the F1 interview lights. Okay, so I have two. I have one that's a generic one
perfect.
that I'll kick off with, and then I'll do the Australia one that's specific. And it is the weekend. I'm not on the clock, so my accent may not be great. Okay. If you're being passed, don't expect to keep your position. Pretty good. Pretty good.
That's it.
I love
Yes.
it.
And now this next one is specific for the Melbourne Grand Prix.
Mhm.
Most people don't know this. If it is raining, you must expect the track to be wet.
Groundbreaking.
It's
I
I
mean,
love it.
that's exactly
Thank
what
you.
we need.
We're gonna. I think this needs to be a thing. We're gonna do it every episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tim's
Um,
It's
take.
just perfect.
Something, if I may, I would love to call out a couple things for our potential sponsors and social media and everything as well, just to bookend
do it.
everything. First thing I'd like to call out is actually a person, Julius Shepard Morgan, our amazing producer in New York City. His
Shout
company,
out.
Jewel Cave Studios, has been doing all of the edits. They have come out so good. Jules, we would not be able to make the full length version of this what it is without you. So thank you very much. Anybody else looking to have their podcast produced fully and edited by somebody who's worked for some of the biggest podcasts in production right now, Jewel Cave Studios is where you should head. So thank you, Julius. For social media, we are on TikTok, we are on Instagram, and now, thanks to Jake, we are also on the YouTube. So please, we are at F1_Derland everywhere. If you just search F1derland, you will find us. Please leave comments. Like Kelly said earlier in the day, just let us know what you're liking. Let us know what you want to see. If there's any games you want us to play, or if there's any other kind of content that you think we're not consuming on F1 that you think we should, let us know. With that, next episode, we are in China. It's a sprint weekend for the first time this season. And who knows, maybe I'll finally watch the sprint races because
Which
never
I
did.
was gonna say, Tim, this
I
is
do
your,
need to do
this
that.
is your chance because
Yep.
if
Oh.
you
I
Yeah.
remembered what I forgot earlier. The thing I learned is that they got rid of the fastest point. This is how my brain works, folks.
Oh,
Thank you.
fastest lap.
That's right.
They got
Yeah.
the fastest point. The fastest lap
fastest
point,
point.
which all of the commentators freaking hate. And I just love the disdain for BSM right now in the FIA. So yeah, there's that. Shout out to all of the sponsors we don't have yet. We would love to be working with you. We will be reaching out to you. And yeah,
Also,
I
shout
think
out to
that's,
all of you for listening to us this far. Like we
my
Let's
gosh.
go.
it really has been a joy to do this. And when we launched this, we kind of we didn't know what to expect because we hadn't done it before. And just all of the feedback, the positive, the constructive, everything, it means so much to us. So thank you if you've made it this far. The three of us really, really, really appreciate you.
We sincerely do. And please share us with your friends. Again, the reason why we're doing this is because we don't know a lot. We're learning as we go. We want more people to learn with us as we share what we are learning. And if you want to fact check us. We're doing it to ourselves. So share us with your friends, share us with your family, and keep on coming back. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.